Hi, everybody, and welcome. So, this is a brand new, the very first installation of a new project where I host an amazing doctor, healer, creative spirit to just help provide you even more, um, gosh, how do I even say it? Like, even more juice, even more energy, even more. Um, Something else to put in your bag of tricks to enrich your day and help you feel even more connected to your experience as a person, as a woman, and as a human being constantly in search of just having a happier, healthier life. So, you may already know me. I'm Dr. Emily Wilson, and today we are with Dr. Emily Livengood. And Dr. Livengood has been a great friend and a colleague of mine for years. We actually went to school together up in Seattle. And we have been friends and supporting each other in our careers. For gosh, how long has it been now? I'm almost 10 years.
Or longer.
We've graduated. Yeah, crazy. So I'm going to give the floor over to Dr. Livengood, to Emily in just a second. But first, I want to give her a proper introduction so that you guys all know who we are speaking to today and why she's so amazing. So Dr. Livengood is a naturopathic doctor, an artist, a mother, a feminist, an environmentalist, and a lover of sleeping under the stars. In her medical practice, she helps women navigate perimenopause and reconnect with their creative spark so that they can master midlife. She's also an abstract landscape painter, and as a painter, her aim is to capture the emotion of a place. For her, art is medicine, and her goal is to blend the two together, reminding us to pause, connect, and heal.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson, Emily. I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm so thrilled to sit down and talk about art as medicine with you. I love this stuff. Like I already have goosebumps, which makes me just so happy. But weaving together the intersection of art, creativity, mindfulness, and healing is, I think, where the magic happens in medicine. And I don't think it gets enough play. So I'm thrilled that we're going to talk about it today because I think it changes lives. It really does.
Yeah. Well, no, I have goosebumps.
Oh, good. Oh, good. I'm glad. So I wanted to sort of set the stage for your audience and kind of put things in context as to what creativity is, why it matters, why we often let it go in our life, and the side effects of that, right? And why it's important to bring it back in.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking about, okay, how do we share this in a way that really resonates with people? And it came back really to just sharing the story of my patients. So I have a practice where I see women going through perimenopause and really helping them master midlife, right? Like my bio said. And what that means for me is I'm really looking at women's health through four lenses. What's their stress like, and what are we doing about it? What's their energy like? And so for that, that means for me, are we fueling you? Are you moving? Are you sleeping? Then I'm looking at hormones and we're talking about, okay, how do we get the hormone support that you need on board? And then that final lens or that final pillar that I'm looking through is mindset and creativity. And to give you some context around that pillar, with every patient, I ask them, what do you do for fun? And so I live in Bend, Oregon, which is a total like recreation town, right? People are here to play typically. And so I'm asking these women, what do you do for fun? And the number of people that cannot answer that question is shocking to me every time. Like every time I'm floored. They remember what they used to do for fun. They remember what they do for fun for their kids or for their family, but not what they do for themselves. And that question for me is really it's a way for me to ask, what is your creative outlet? How are you tapping into your creative genius? Because when I'm working with these women, I can get them eating, I can get them moving, we can get the yoga practice back on board, but we can only get you so healthy. We can only get you so far in your health goals if we do not address this creativity piece. We hit this barrier. And it took me years to figure this out. Like, what is missing here? What is it that we can't move forward? And for me, the creativity and mindset piece is about breaking the stress cycle and reconnecting with your creative fire. And so many of us have lost that in our busy hustle adulting culture, right? This stuff got totally punted. We were told in like third or fourth grade that we weren't good at coloring and we let it go, even though we love it, right? There's part of us that's like, oh, but I miss that connection. And so I asked these women, okay, what do you do for fun? And we then try and work backwards and say, okay, what is it that lights you up? What was that piece that didn't have to necessarily make you money or you didn't have to be good at, but it brought you joy? And the reason that this is really important is getting a lot of play in the research community, which of course just thrills me. So
Yeah.
there's this world in research called the neuroarts or neuroaesthetics, where we are researching what art does to our brain. And what I love about this is stuff that we innately know. Like we know we feel different when we go to the theater or we see a show or we sit down and color with our kids. Like we know this. But now our amazing researchers are, putting the facts behind the feeling, which is incredible. And what they're telling us is the arts help us turn on our creative brain. And what is creativity? Creativity is finding unique connections in our experiences to come up with solutions to problems we wouldn't otherwise. So the arts turn on the creative brain. The brain is connecting the dots and saying, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do. Oh, this is the magic piece. But we rarely get into that space unless we're doing the activity or engaging in the arts in some way to turn on that creative fire. The other beautiful thing that turning on your creative brain does is it disrupts the hamster wheel of the stress cycle,
Oh God.
right? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Right? So like we're on I mean, so much of us just walk around in like stress soup, right? We've got all of our stress hormones going all the time. As a perimenopausal woman and working with perimenopausal women, this is messing with our hormones. It's messing with our sleep. It's having an impact on our blood sugar, all of these things. If we tap into that creative brain, what happens is when we start to process our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions through connecting the dots, making these neural links, we finish the stress cycle. The thing that we were racing on, we're like, oh, I need to do this. Then we can let it go. We can say, oh, I've processed this. Now it's outside of my head and I can move forward. And of course, that has a positive effect on everything in our bodies, which is why this is my fourth pillar of care. That's really saying, okay, I can get you so far. But if we figure out what lights your brain up, we can get you so much further. Like you can just feel so different in your body. Because ultimately, we're human and we're meant to experience the beauty of being alive, even when life doesn't always feel beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like, let's be in it.
Yeah. I
Hmm.
just gotta say, I feel like there's this part of me that's got my pens right here, and I'm like trying so hard to grab them and just take a million notes. Because I think this is so fascinating. And I agree, this is one of the massive missing pieces in women's healthcare because
Yeah.
if we don't feel good in our daily lives, we're not going to feel good in our bodies, right? And I think that this is just really such a powerful way to take control of the stress cycle, which can feel so overwhelming for people.
Hmm. And it builds, right? Like you're working with women in multiple stages of transition of life, right? So we're talking about hormones, we're talking about pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause. All of those are shifts on our timeline. And what happens as we kind of move along is we accumulate all this adulting and all of these hormone shifts. And there's so many demands on all of us that we quickly punt the things that seem simple to get rid of,
Mhm.
right? Okay, that like sketching practice I used to do. I carry around my notebook and write poems in over lunch break just doesn't happen anymore. Okay, like we let it go.
Yeah.
But what is the consequence of letting it go is my question, right? Like I love the research. The neuro arts is fantastic. I want that clinical application. I want people to be able to see that having those outlets just matters so deeply, not just because it makes us feel good, but because it is having a physiologic effect on our bodies. This is a big deal. This makes recovery, this makes PMS easier. It makes perimenopause easier. It makes finding yourself postpartum. This is so important to find all of these pieces again,
Yeah.
which is magic.
Yeah. And it's about like having a very concrete way to reconnect with ourselves, right? We are so encouraged as women to think about everybody else and think about
Yep.
how we should be taking care of other people. And now we have this added responsibility in this like hyper intense wellness culture of, oh, now you have to take care of yourself too. But where is the pleasure in that? Where is the enjoyment in that? If you hate green juice, should you be drinking green juice? I don't know.
No, I mean, so I love this, right? Because we've got people that are like, I'm eating right, I'm sleeping right, I'm hyper productive at work, I'm going for walks outside, but I listen to productivity podcasts on two times speed.
Guilty.
You know, just
Guilty.
I'm like, do you know that there were birds out there chirping? Did you hear them? Right?
I
Because
miss them all.
that ultimately is getting us back into that like relaxed creative brain.
Yeah.
But we've been trained, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going until what? Until we fry. And
Yep.
there's like these cycles of burnout that so many women know that I know personally, which is really in my story is about hustle culture, shoulds, and doing things for others, not necessarily for myself.
Mm,
Like, I'll take one more class, I'll get one more degree, I'll do one more thing because I feel like I have something to prove or I'm supposed to do this. But that trade off came with what actually makes me joyful.
yeah.
What do I actually want to do with my time? To the extent that there was a time period after we were done with our program that I didn't have any idea what I liked. I was so good at taking little like Scantron bubble tests and, checking off the boxes that I didn't know anymore. And I
Yeah.
saw all sorts of health problems as a result. And one of the reasons I love working with perimenopausal women is because the mask is lifted. They're like, there's no more room for like the shoulds and taking care of anybody else. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you will have symptoms. But
Yep.
if you do take care of yourself, it is gentler. And that's like magic for me. It's like, oh, you mean I need this. I need this creative outlet so that my cycle feels better. Oh yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It's like magic. So about 3 years ago, I really decided to reintegrate my creative practice back into my life. And so, Em, but I'm also a painter and been a painter forever. I mean, it really got turned on in me in middle school with a fantastic teacher, art teacher. Thank you to all the teachers out there. Uh, and this is just like what lit me up. And then when I went on to grad school or my undergrad, I studied illustration for a while and then decided, you know what, I'm going to need to do medicine because that's what I should do, and kept going. And don't get me wrong, I love medicine. I love the brain, but I dropped art at that point in my life.
Yeah.
3 years ago, trying to figure out my why, my reason for, getting up and going in the morning and doing the things I do, I broke out the paints again. I took a little corner of my home office and turned it into a studio. I time block the time that I get to create. I've made it simple for myself, consistent, joyful, and that burnout hamster wheel is done. I'm done with it. I don't want to do it anymore. But I have to reconnect with that creative fire to make sure that I'm still going on the path that I want.
Yeah. I love that.
Ugh. But it can be hard for people to say, there's no time for this. Well, you make time for what you want to make time for, ultimately, which sucks to hear.
Well, I think too, because we're both moms of daughters, and
Mhm.
I think too that this does become about something bigger than us, because in what period in human history are women going to start modeling self-care as a necessary and essential piece of life for their children? I
Mhm.
truly believe, and I wrote about this in my book, I truly believe that when we can model this behavior to our children, we will change the world because we start raising little girls and little boys who see women who value themselves enough to put boundaries around their time and their joy and their pleasure and do so with love
Yeah. Yeah.
for their children, but also love for themselves, because that will teach kids how to value themselves. And they
Absolutely.
hopefully keep
Yeah.
them out of even ever having to have this conversation with the doctor because they'll just get it, right?
Yeah. It's just part of who they are. And you think about, the way we were raised with our moms really being just able to do, like to do what they wanted to do. And so we were told, do everything. And now we're like, wait a minute, what do I actually want? How do I actually want to feel? And and then as a mom, right, how do I model that for my daughter? Um, that, yeah, follow what your interests are. Don't lose yourself in the process. I
Yeah.
think a lot of us lose ourselves in the process. And the gift maybe of perimenopause is that it's time to reevaluate and say, okay, what do I really want? Where do I want to be? Which is what's magic. The reason I link and weave art with creativity and mindfulness is because that's what I love, right? This is what I think my patients need. I have this background in painting and creativity that's always been with me, right? It stuck with me, even though it was in the background. But art is just one way to get into your creative brain, right? So I really want your audience to hear that is, I've got some ideas about how to integrate that into their lives. But my 80-year-old dad learning new computer code is also really creative, right? If you really are a tinkerer and want to like fix and repair bikes in your free time, that will also make those neural connections, which is the fantastic part. The research shows us that we get into our creative brain if we do it 1 to 2 times a week, maybe for only 45 minutes, we change our quality of life and our physiology. Once a week, that's such a big deal. And the thing that I love about the arts, which is anything from drawing, painting, singing, dancing, going to the theater, is that if you are a maker, if you're making those things, the art doesn't have to be good. It can be really bad art. It can be something that you're like, whoa, never sharing that. Oh, burn that, recycle it, whatever. It doesn't matter. It is still has a positive influence on your body and your brain, which makes me so happy because when I'm talking to women who have lost that creative touch, who are interested in reconnecting with that artist within, but they were told in third grade that they weren't good at it, they're afraid to, right? They're afraid to pick up the paper because it might not be good. Well, no one has to see it. That's the beautiful part. It doesn't matter. It's really about how you feel. Does it bring you joy? Does it reconnect you with beauty that's in the world, with the just the amazing fact that we are alive and living and we get to experience this?
Yeah. And what a whole new way to interact with this idea of um of self-judgment, because
Yeah.
how how often are we censoring ourselves and keeping ourselves from putting things out there because we're worried about what other people think? But if we reframe these things as joyful activities, things that we do because they're good for us, which makes them necessary for us, it also invites a whole new conversation about what is the voice in my head actually doing right now? Why is this here? And it can open up so
Yes.
many doors for self-awareness.
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I mean, ultimately, using art to tap into our creativity is a mindfulness exercise, right? It's saying, how do I process this emotion or this experience? How do we move through this together? And your sketchbook that you create might never be in the Met, and that's fine. Like, that's not the intention. The intention is to change how you feel in your body. But people can come at it from different angles, Do we need to know that it changes your body? Sure. Do other people know? They just know that they feel good. Like, okay, how do we do this? So what I've ended up doing, is seeing this in my patients, seeing that we hit this ceiling and that I've got, some wonderfully healthy patients that cannot move beyond. We know it's there, we can see it, but we can't move beyond because we haven't unlocked that kind of creative brain for them yet. So
Yeah.
what I've done is I've created a course called Creativity Prescription. And what this is a series of video modules of art-based mindfulness exercises that walk you through the exercise and say, okay, for 15 minutes, you can watch me walk you through this exercise. The idea is to do one a week, and then you have a collection of them at the end of a month. And you have the start of your creativity prescription sketchbook that you can burn, recycle, or cherish later, whatever you want to do, right? But what these are doing is these exercises are designed to be fun, a little messy, lighthearted, but we are exploring through art these concepts of flow state and being present and intuition. Look at my notes because the other one I have on there is surrender, grounding techniques, play, curiosity. Good, goosebumps, because this is the stuff we turn off. And so, right, there's lots of mindfulness activities out there to explore these concepts, right? Mindfulness meditation techniques. This is just another way, which I love. So if this is something that people are like, oh, I wonder if this would resonate with me, then I think it becomes really fun. And it can be fun. Like mindfulness and taking care of your body and your brain doesn't have to be super serious business. We can hold that for you. I can hold the research. I love that stuff. I'm a nerd at heart too, but you can also play with it. And that's, I think, really important.
Yeah. We have too many things that we need to make serious in this world. So I think that self-care it should be more fun. We should have more fun with it.
It's okay to feel joyful. Like this is a big deal. Like life can feel really heavy. It's okay to feel joyful, which is really good.
Yeah.
Um, so if it's okay, I have like a 60-second exercise that I would love to walk you and your viewers through if you'd like to do that.
I would love that. And maybe what we should do is give everybody just a second in case they don't have what
We can
they
get
need
their
to start
supplies.
them. Yeah, so let us know what we need them and then
So
we'll
a
pause
piece of
this.
paper, any piece of paper, like I don't, back of an envelope of a bill to a big piece of paper, whatever works for you. And then something to draw with. So I have like these kids tempera paint sticks, which if you haven't played with your kids, paint sticks are super fun.
Mhm.
But pen works, your crayons work, your colored pencil works, whatever it is. So just grab your supplies. I'll stall a little bit, but grab your supplies, set yourself up. And what I'm going to ask you to do is if your feet aren't already on the floor, just find your feet on the floor so we can ground you here for a second.
Guilty. Okay.
Mhm. All right, ready? So either closing your eyes or softening your gaze, whatever is comfortable for you, just so you can kind of be in your body. And what I'd love for you to do is take a breath in through your nose and nice long exhale through your mouth. And just get here with me, with us. Just breathe for a moment. And what I'd like for you to do is notice an emotion that you are feeling in your body right now. Is it nervousness, calm? Is it overwhelm? Just finding that emotion for you and just recognizing how it feels in your body. And as you're breathing here, does that emotion have a color? Does that emotion have a shape? What does it look like? Just breathing here. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is go ahead and open your eyes because it is easier to draw with your eyes open. And in your non-dominant hand, so for me, that's my left hand, go ahead and pick up your drawing tool. And for the next 10 seconds, that's it, We are going to go for it. We are going to get that emotion onto the paper. So identify your emotion. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And then I want you to just go and let it be. Let it be out of you and onto the paper. So my emotion was excitement. I think it's probably mixed with nervousness because I was here chatting with you guys about things that I love. And so just go, just let it go. If you've got different colors and you want to add to it, by all means. How does it feel just to get it out? So keep going. We've just got a few more seconds. This is about getting it out, not about making a masterpiece. Go and then breathe. So just take a moment here if you've wrapped it up and just look at what you created. The idea here was to release that feeling from your stress cycle, if that was the emotion, and get it out onto the paper. And then just look at what you created. Mine is like a big purple squiggle. Um, the idea with this exercise is to disrupt it, let it go, right? And you can do this one, every day if you want, if you love it. So breathe. All right, what came out for you?
Well, my emotion was holding.
Mm,
I feel like I am currently trying to hold a lot of things together, and I think that's just a pattern that really easily translates into my physiology.
yeah.
Why? Mine is nowhere near as beautiful as yours. I think it's a little
Oh.
more literal.
Great.
For some reason, I had this vision of like an orange, I don't know if you can even see it, an orange
Uh-huh.
honey pot. Can you see that?
Yes.
And you were talking about, okay, now release it. So I was like, okay, well, there's smoke coming out of it. And I was starting to draw little stars.
Mhm.
And then I only got to draw one star. So it looks like a honey pot with a bee. And I think I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, which is the idea, right? Is that there is no expectation for it to be literal or a feeling or just a color. And the other beautiful thing is this is a way to get it out, that holding sensation on paper. And then if you want to later, add the bee, add the color. What does that mean for you? Maybe it doesn't have to have a meaning. It can just be a way of release, which is ultimately the goal.
Yeah, I think this is so important. I mean, even just like, it's like taking a moment to think about what you just said makes me think, how am I going to go back and work on this later? Because I'm excited to, and I have
Yeah,
not drawn anything in years.
yeah,
I
yeah.
journal all the time. I don't draw.
Yeah. And journaling is another mindfulness creative outlet, right? That a lot of people resonate with, and that is beautiful for them. Sometimes this adds in a layer. It opens up a door that you wouldn't have gotten using your dominant hand to get your thoughts out,
Yeah.
right? We use our non-dominant hand intentionally because it'll make it often not pretty, and we can't think too much about it. Our brain just can't handle it. Now I'm thinking I might have done that with my dominant hand, but I meant to do it with my non-dominant hand. That was the idea. Regardless, you can go back and do it again, right? And just keep exploring. That's really the intention. Is just keep exploring this part of your brain because it needs to be turned back on.
Yeah.
We are healthier, happier humans when it is, and better role models for our kids.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so can you tell me, I'm so curious because I'm definitely going to download the resource that you're sharing, the free
Yeah.
resource. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how what the larger course is?
Absolutely. So, Creativity Prescription is a larger course. This is a series of multiple video modules that are walking you through about 10 different exercises like this with the intention of you doing several a week so that you tap in for that 15 minutes or 5 minutes and really just have that creative experience. The goal here is to keep it simple, keep it consistent, and keep it joyful. And for people who want to re explore that art and creativity and mindfulness link, that's who it's for. And for those of us who haven't drawn in decades, but are like, oh, I wonder, like, why not? Right? You're an avid journaler. I know this about you, Em. And so it's like, okay, how do we add layers for this, right? Unlock another layer in your creativity. And that's really the intention behind the course. It's also to help people get started, to really help those women who I was seeing hit the ceiling and say, okay, how do we unlock this for you? Let's try this approach to mindfulness. And if it resonates, great, we are on our way. And then at the end of the course, there are tips and tricks for you to keep going, right? To keep this as a lifelong practice.
Yeah.
What I put together for your folks is called my Creativity Prescription Sampler. And what it is if they want to sign up for it, they just go to my website. I think you'll have a link for it.
Well, yeah.
And they'll sign up for the freebie, which is two video exercises of me walking you through two different art-based mindfulness practices. One is about emotions release, and another one is about brain-body connection. And the intention really is for you to feel it out and say, okay, do I want to do this thing? And to try me out too and say, okay, if this works for you, let's go for it. Let's give it a try. And that's the whole intention, is to make it easy. Excuse me.
That's so awesome.
Mhm.
I feel it too. Not only am I hearing more and more about this, but I feel like I'm living this more and more because I'm such a type A person. I could get really hyper focused on things. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes when we're trying to solve a problem, the more that we hyper focus on it, the more we're actually focusing on the problem and we can't see the solution, right? But if we can like pan out or zoom out, which physiologically is all about switching from fight or flight to parasympathetic, which that's
Yep.
when we allow our view to broaden. That's when we can start to see the solution, right? That's when the solution comes into focus. And it's
Hmm.
a great way to pan out, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is the parasympathetic, right? So our fight or flight is our sympathetic. Our parasympathetic is that calming, rest and digest, broadly. When you're hyper focused on solving the problem that you cannot solve, you're not going to fix it by spending 3 more hours at your computer, right? It's going to be the time doing, an art-based activity or going for a walk and listening to the birds. Having that moment is about expanding those neural connections, dropping you out of the stress response and then making neural connections you wouldn't otherwise. But we are programmed to power through, to just keep going. To the extent you're like, have I stood up in the last 4 hours? Hmm.
Yeah.
Not going to find the solution typically for you.
Right, right, right.
Mm.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's just it. I have two books I want to share with your folks too, because if people are intrigued by this stuff,
Yeah.
I am most interested in applying it, right? Putting it into your day to day, doing this. But if you love the theory, like I have two of my favorite books that I wanted to share. So the first one is called Wired to Create. And I'm not sure if this is flipped around for you or not, but that's okay. Scott Barry Kaufman, you've probably heard his name before. He's a psychologist, I believe. This was written in 2015. It's a little bit older now, but it's a beautiful book, really about our brains and why this matters. It's really reinforcing our conversation today. And it's for everybody, which I love. So it's a great book. And then the other one, which I currently just am in love with, that I want everyone to read, came out in 2023. And this is Rick Rubin's book. And he wrote The Creative Act, A Way of Being. And this is just insightful poetry. Like he has these short little chapters and blurbs that you do not have to read in order, that you can just pick up whenever, that reminds us that we are creative beings and meant to experience all of this and be in the beauty and be in the flow. And that's how we were designed. And it's time to get back to that. So
I'm gonna put those in my Amazon cart right
in your
away.
cart. Yeah. Yeah, this one I have now read twice, listened to on a road trip. There's something really lovely here. So I would really encourage people to pick that one up.
Great.
Great. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Em. This has been amazing. And I feel like I have hit the reset button on my own day, in my own head, in my own life in such a big way. So
Yeah.
I'm just so excited for this, what you have to teach and to share, just to get out there because more people need to know about this. We need to be talking about this. So
Yeah.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you. I appreciate it. I love talking about this, obviously. And I really feel like it is a reclaiming, like this is a reclaiming of fun and our true selves. And So let's do it together. Let's have fun doing it and get a little messy at the same time.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you again. I appreciate you so much, Em.
So I hope you enjoyed my conversation today with Dr. Emily Livengood, and I hope that you felt as inspired during it and after it as I do. I told her that I am definitely thinking I'm going to have to start incorporating drawing into my life again. But I want to make sure that you see the links to pick up her Creativity RX sampler. That's the free gift that she has for you, as well as links to her website and her social media so you can keep in touch with her. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a beautiful day.